Some. So how'd it go? That extra hour of sleep? I have high expectations of you today. You're in the 11 o'clock service. You got an extra hour of sleep. I expect a lot, just so you know. So the pressure's on you to perform. I just like flipping it over to make it so that you know that I'm always evaluating you as an audience. Just to warn you, man, I didn't feel like I got an extra hour of sleep. It just kind of felt normal. But I have kids and a dog, so, you don't usually get the benefits of all those things. Anyways, I talked a lot in first service. I think it went a little over. I just said everything because, I don't know. We'll just see what happens today. Are you guys ready? I'm going to start in a weird place. It's going to be weird. You ready for weird? Some of you aren't ready for weird. You don't even know what's about to happen. Okay. I'm going to start this morning by talking about Harry Potter. Okay? So, the three people who are excited about that, I know that's weird. I know it's church, and some of you are like, that's not appropriate. And we break those rules all the time, just so you know. So, I'm not like an over-the-top Harry Potter fan, just so you know. I'm not one of those crazy ones. But I do like the books. The books are good. The movies are okay. I'm one of those people. But I tell you what, listen, if you've ever read it, you know, this lady, man, she wrote all these storylines, and they come together at the end. The ending of those books is just phenomenal. I don't care what you think about all of that. It was just an amazing ending. And don't you wonder where she got the concept of having her protagonist freely give his life up to destroy evil and save everyone? Don't you wonder where she got that? What a crazy idea. That's why I'm into those kind of stories. All those big epics always have these spiritual undertones, and they always steal from the real story, the true story, the deep story. So anyways, Harry Potter. There's this curse in Harry Potter. They call it the killing curse, if you're familiar. Voldemort's go-to. It's the words Avada Kedavra. Avada Kedavra. He says those words, and green lightning comes out of his wand, and whoever is on the other end of it ends up dead, except for Harry, of course. Important curse in the movies. Now, what I found interesting, since I'm kind of a nerd, is the similarities between that phrase, Avada Kedavra, and another magical saying, abracadabra. They kind of sound similar, right? Now, you've heard abracadabra before, right? When you were a kid, you probably said it trying to do something magic. I think it's in Cinderella. Now, without boring you with entomology and the word history and all that stuff, abracadabra actually has its roots in Hebrew. So now if you were offended by the Harry Potter thing, you have to come back, because I just quoted ancient Hebrew, so now we're good, right? Where we evened this out. And in the ancient Hebrew, many people think it roughly means, I create as I speak. I create as I speak. Abracadabra, I create as I speak. Then, check this out. According to Harry Potter Wiki, which is for sure true, right? Because that's the Bible of Harry Potter. It said that Avada Kedavra is a variation of abracadabra, and it means I destroy as I speak. So abracadabra means I create as I speak. Avada Kedavra means I destroy as I speak. And I thought that was really cool. Those two concepts put together. Now, I don't believe in magic, just to say, in case anybody's a little thrown off right now, what is happening right now? He's quoting more Harry Potter than the Bible. Slow down, okay? Give me a second. I don't believe in magic. I don't believe in incantations. That's not just a Mosaic's official stance, just so you know. But I do believe that all your words fall into one of these two categories. That you are either creating as you speak, or you are destroying as you speak. When you speak, you're either creating or destroying. Now, let me bring it back to the Bible. We'll do this thing, okay? Proverbs 18:21. Here's where the author got it from. She stole this from the Bible. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. Death and life are in the power of your mouth and your words. What a crazy thing to say. So it's not just some Harry Potter thing. It's not just some out there idea. The Bible points to the idea that your words carry weight. That you can either create or destroy as you speak. And this is really important. Your words, listen, your words don't just describe the world you live in. They help shape it. Your words don't just describe the world you live in. They help shape it. Really important. All right, so hold this idea in your mind. Avada Kedavra, Abracadabra, I destroy as I speak, or I create as I speak. We're going to leave for a minute, but just remember that. And I know you Harry Potter nerds are like, I knew this before you knew this. And yeah, I know you have Harry Potter more memorized than the Bible. Boom, roasted. Nobody cares. Nobody. Listen, you had an extra hour of sleep. You have to laugh at everything today. Even the ones that are kind of almost funny, you have to. It's the rule. It's the extra hour of sleep Sunday. You have to laugh at my jokes. Understand? Good. Thank you. We're starting a series today called The Code. We're going to look at the 5 values that shape Mosaic as a church. 5 values that shape us as a church. So you probably know, since it's posted 12 feet high on the wall out there, that our vision for the church is to be a church for people who don't think church is for them. That's who we want to be. That's our vision. That's our compass. And everything we do kind of filters through that idea. And it's not supposed to be some kind of chip on our shoulder thing. It's not supposed to be some kind of like we're better than other churches kind of a thing. We're just a specific kind of church. So some churches are for church people. We're going to be a little different because we're sensitive to the idea that there's a lot of people who maybe went to church in their past and didn't have a great experience. And when they walk into a church, they feel a little bit weird. Or maybe you've never been to a church, and it's a big deal to walk into a church sight unseen, right? You don't know the people, you don't know what's going to happen. Like that's a brave thing you have to do to walk through the door. So what we want to do here is create a place where if you went to church when you were little and stopped going, or if you've never been to church, that you can come in and kind of understand what's happening, unless you don't watch Harry Potter, or you don't feel weird or uncomfortable when you come into the place. So that's the big idea here. We want people to feel comfortable when they walk in, feel accepted, and have Jesus be the thing that shines. Our values are supposed to help further shape our culture, our feel, right? The way it feels when you walk into a place. And that's a hard thing to define, right? Like the culture of a place. You know, probably one of the best examples of this is Chick-fil-A, right? You just know when you walk in, there's a certain feel, right? It's our pleasure. They have a way of doing things. And we want to have a feel as well when people walk in here, when they experience Mosaic, when they come in contact with Mosaic, we want them to feel a certain way. So we have these values that are supposed to kind of season the way this feels, the way it tastes, the way the impression people get when they walk in. So 5 values. I want to start today with the one that I think is the most important. We are a people of honor. We're a people of honor. That's our most important value. Our vision here is to create a haven of honor. Here at Mosaic, we're going to be the haven of honor in the larger culture that we kind of feel like is a culture of contempt that we live in our society, in our culture. So we want to create a haven of honor in a culture of contempt. So here's my first premise today. It'll be slightly controversial. You might have to debate this in your head a little bit. We should treat every person with honor. Every single one. I'll let you absorb that. All the people. Everybody in the world you should treat with honor. All of them. How's your brain doing with that? You coming up with a bunch of people you don't want to do that with, right? All the people, that person who cut you off on the highway this week, or your boss who said that thing or did that thing or didn't do that thing, or the guy in charge, or the guy who used to be in charge, whatever. All that list of people in your head you don't want to honor, you know. Now, if you went to church growing up, you probably know there's some verses. You're thinking like, is it really all people, right? Because you know, like there's a verse in there that says you're supposed to honor your parents. So you like knew that one, right? That's a good one. All the parents said amen. We love that one. And then you probably know if you grew up in church that there's like that pesky chapter in Romans that talks about honoring those in authority. And we try to like find loopholes and ways around that, or we just ignore it flat out. And then if you're a pastor, you know that there's a verse in there that says that pastors are supposed to be honored. Actually, there's supposed to be a double honor, so we're not going to talk about that today because you'd think I was self-serving and that would be weird for me to preach that. But really, everybody, we're supposed to treat everybody with honor. It actually is explicit in the Bible in 1 Peter 2:17. Peter, the big-mouthed disciple, said this: honor all people. Love the brotherhood, fear God, honor the king. Honor all people. And before I preached this morning, I caught myself, I'm like, shoot, I better go like look this up in the original language just to make sure all means all. And just so you know, it does. It means all. There is no asterisk. There is no exceptions. There's no footnote giving it special permission. All means all. Every single person. Now, I don't think that when Peter says to honor all people, that he means to honor all people exactly the same. I think there are different levels of honor, right? You're going to honor your spouse different than you're going to honor the president, different than you're going to honor the police, different than you're going to honor your kids. Doesn't mean we treat everybody the same, but what it does mean is that there is a basement level honor that we're going to give to everybody, and we're never going to go below that basement, right? So there's just a baseline honor all people. Some will be higher than others, but we're not going to dishonor anyone. So that's my premise. Honor all people. Just go home. You should do that. Just go do it. Just go honor people today. I know that's difficult. So that's a big what, and I want to give you a big why to go along with. So why would we honor all people? Some people kind of seem dishonorable. Some people don't. It doesn't seem like I want to do that with them. So if we go all the way back to Genesis chapter 1, starting in verse 26, God says this: "Let us make human beings in our image to be like us. They will reign over the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, the livestock, the wild animals on the earth, the small animals that scurry along the ground." So God created human beings in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. 3 times in 2 verses, God wants you to know that he created human beings in his image, in his likeness. These verses tell us that when God created the world, he did something special with human beings. Something different, something unique. Theologians use the term imago Dei, that every single human being you run into in your life is created with the imago Dei, the image of God. That means that they have inherent value, different from the rest of creation. A human life is worth more than any other living thing on the planet. That should not be controversial, just so you know. And I want you to know, I'm not anti-animal, just before you start. I grew up in a house where dogs and cats outnumbered humans like 4-1, okay? So there were animals everywhere all the time. I will be transparent with you and tell you that I did at one point have a magnifying glass and burn ants. It's probably the worst thing that I ever did to another living thing. I messed with the cats a little bit, but it was very mild and they deserved it. But I said all that. I love animals. I said all that because I want to tell you this. And I think I've told you this before, but like, if there were a zombie apocalypse, and I feel like we were kind of close to one at one point here recently, right? It was pretty close. We weren't sure what's going to happen. The next virus could be the zombie apocalypse. We don't know, what comes after Delta. I don't know. It could be weird. So if that happens, I want you to know I've done the math in my head. If my wife and my 4 kids and our dog are hiding in the basement and we're eating, the last of the canned goods and it's getting low, I want you to know the dog's not getting any. Okay? I just want you to know this. We're not like drawing straws and saying, "Sorry, Zeke, buddy, the dog gets your beans tonight, not you." Because, no, we're not doing that. And it's not because I like Zeke more than the dog. I mean, I do. But that's not why. The reason is because Zeke has the image of God and the dog does not. There's a difference. And if food gets really low, right? We're doing, to quote Lord of the Rings, meat's back on the menu, boys. And listen, for those of you dog lovers, somebody came up to me after first service when I said that, and she had like a "I love dogs" shirt on or something. Don't judge me. Listen, if there's a zombie apocalypse, I'm going to come and see how you're doing. If the worst thing I did was eat my dog, I'm doing all right, okay? Watched all the movies, so we're doing okay. But human beings bear the image of God unlike anything in creation. Now, if you want to do the thing, so sometimes, it doesn't happen often here, but sometimes Christians do the thing where like they'll say a verse and it's kind of like tennis, like you hit a verse over and then somebody wants to, "Oh, well, what about this verse?" And you kind of play back and forth for a while. So if I say, "Hey, in Genesis 1, it says that we were created in the image and likeness of God," what you might say back to me is, "Well, what about Genesis 3 where human beings fell into sin? Does that affect the image of God?" Good point. So do we still have the image of God, or was that tainted? Well, just so you know, in Genesis chapter 9, which is after the fall of man, God is telling severe consequences for murder. He's trying to convince people to not kill each other, and he gives very severe consequences for murder. His reasoning for murder being the worst thing that you could do was that human beings have the image of God. Even in chapter 9, he's still saying, hey, the reason this is so bad is because it's the image that I have placed on human beings that you are now disregarding when you commit murder. It's almost as if, it's weird the way God talks about it, like he takes an assault on an image bearer personally. Like he takes it personal. Like an assault on the image of the king is the same as an assault on the king himself. He's going to take that personal in a way that he doesn't with the rest of creation. And to continue that, Jesus, when he was on earth, he told a story about people who gave to the poor and fed the hungry and stuff like that. And in Matthew 25, he says this, and the king will say, I tell you the truth, when you did it to the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you were doing it for me. So this is on the, murder's the bad side. But on the good side, Jesus said, hey, when you help somebody, especially the people that are down and out, the people who have nothing, when you help them, it's the same as if you were doing it for me. Again, he seems to be taking personal the things that are done to people who bear his image. So, every single person you run into bears the image of God, and therefore, because of that, has a high value. A high value, inherently high value. Now, I learned something this week. It's pretty cool. Kind of helped me think about this. Biblically speaking, glory is inherent value, and honor is recognizing that value. Glory is the inherent honor of a thing, and then honor is recognizing the value in that thing. So, this kind of helped me because now when I honor another person, what I am doing is I am recognizing the glory of God and the image of God in them, the imago Dei in them. All I'm doing when I honor somebody is recognizing that imago Dei on that person. It's helpful to me. It's almost like I'm trying to honor God by honoring them, which is good because sometimes they don't always act very honorable, right? So every single person, and this, I really want to drive this home because sometimes it's so easy to try and do the asterisk thing, to try and do the exception thing, right? Like for the most part, I agree with that, except this person, right? But every single person bears the image and likeness of Almighty God, the rich, the poor, the black, the white, the brown, the disabled, the elderly, the unborn, the refugee, the Democrat, the Republican, the guy who cut you off on the highway last week, your boss, your idiot coworker, all of them bears the image of Almighty God, and we should not take that lightly. Honor all people. That right there by itself, I think, should be a good enough reason that we're going to try and recognize the imago Dei in the people in our lives. We're going to treat them according to that. We're going to recognize the value that God has placed in each human being. It should be enough. I want to give you another reason. We'll call it a bonus reason because you don't need another reason because that reason is good enough. But I want to tell you a little story here. So in the book of Mark, Jesus, he was doing a bunch of, doing his ministry thing. He's going around healing people, preaching, doing all the cool stuff. And he, as he's traveling from town to town, he makes it back to his hometown. And the people in his hometown, where he's from, they don't treat him well. They don't honor Jesus. And there's something to that. Little side note. I think familiarity erodes honor. You ever recognize that? Like it's easier to honor somebody that maybe you don't know very well than it is to honor somebody that you do know. Something about that we need to be intentional about honoring the people that we're used to, that we're close to. But they don't treat Jesus very well. Now look at what verses 4 and 5 say in Mark chapter 6, because this is really important. Jesus said to them, a prophet is not dishonored except in his hometown, among his own relatives and in his own household. And then listen, this is the really important part. And he could not do any miracle there except that he laid his hands on a few sick people and healed them. I love that Jesus' bad day is that he healed a couple of people. Isn't that crazy? Like, just do a couple, right? Like that's nuts. But look at the connection here. There's a lack of honor and a lack of miracles. That doesn't seem to be an accident, right? I'll say the sentence, dishonor seemed like it disabled Jesus' miracle working in this place. And it sounds weird coming out of my mouth, but you saw the word the same that I did. It seemed like the wrong word, right? It said he could not do any miracle. It should have said, it seemed like, I want to correct the Bible and say, well, it should have said he would not, but that's not what it said. It said he could not. He could not. That's weird. Now, we understand this on a physical level, right? Like if somebody disrespects you, if somebody dishonors you, that doesn't exactly breed like a lot of generosity on your part, right? You don't want to do something for someone when they disrespect you, right? It's really easy to say, oh, you're going to treat me like that? No problem, I'm done, right? That's an easy thing to do. So we understand that on the physical, but that's not what this said. This did not, if it would have said Jesus would not do many miracles, I'd been like, yeah, they're jerks. Leave them alone, Jesus, whatever, like that's fine. But he didn't. It said he could not, which kind of, I think, points to maybe a deeper spiritual connection. What if there's a connection between what Jesus, his supernatural ability, the things that God did through him, and to honor? What if dishonor caused these people to lose access to Jesus' like anointing in his life? And what if that same thing's true for us? Like, what if there's something spiritual that happens when we dishonor people? Like, dishonoring someone causes us to lose access to the thing that God is doing through them. Like dishonor makes you unable to receive what God is doing through the people in your life. Man, that would be a huge deal, right? Like when you fail to recognize the imago Dei that God has placed in someone, you also lose access to what God is doing through that person. Wow. Makes honor even more important. Can I give an example, like a really close to home example? This is a jerk move, I'm going to do it anyways. You know how sometimes, like hypothetically, people get salty at church, like at a church, you know? Not here, like other places, people do this. And like, because they're salty about something, maybe legitimate, maybe not, they start to treat the people serving, the people leading with dishonor. And then they go and they say some kind of sentence like, I just don't feel like God moves in that church anymore. I just, used to, but now I just don't feel like it's there anymore. What if it's not that God isn't moving, but that person lost access to what God was doing because of their dishonor? What if they were boxed in by their own dishonor? They were closed off to the things that God was doing in the church because they had a spirit of dishonor and they missed out on all the things that God was doing because of their own attitude. They had built a prison, it was locked from the inside, and they didn't get to experience the stuff that God was doing. Man. And then I got thinking, since I'm kind of a church nerd, I wonder if that's the difference between like a dead and dying church and a vibrant and healthy church. Like what if one of the main differences is that dying churches have a spirit of dishonor, that they've decided to dishonor and disrespect people and just kind of have that spirit among them, and because of that they've lost access to all the things that God is doing in the people around them. But then maybe a living and a vibrant church has a spirit of honor, and we because of that spirit of honor have access to all the stuff that God is doing in all the people because they go out of their way to honor those people. What if that's the difference? Or at least one of them. I don't know. Seems like a really important idea. So Peter says to honor all people. Big reason, because every single person bears the image, the imago Dei of God. And then another bonus reason, because, man, what if dishonor causes you to lose access to what God is doing through that person? Like that's a huge deal. All three of those things are really important. So I hope you're sitting here thinking, like, my goal here, let me lay my cards on the table as a speaker. I want you to like feel like you want to honor people right now. That's my goal. So if you're not feeling that, I've utterly failed. I'm trying to get you to want to honor the people in your life that you interact with. But I also want to acknowledge something as you're sitting there, maybe a tension you're feeling in your soul, because if you're wanting to honor the people in your life and maybe even feeling like you've failed in some areas, and that's fine, you probably are also experiencing this feeling like, wow, but that's really hard. Like, that's not an easy thing to do, right? Who wakes up on Monday, goes into work and thinks, man, everybody here just has the image of God on them. You, imago Dei. I just see the imago Dei everywhere. No, right? Nancy does something to tick you off, and you want to fire off that email that says, per my last email. You want to do that thing on Monday morning, right? You don't exactly have this spirit of honor when you walk in on Monday morning. It's a difficult thing. And one of the reasons I think it's so difficult is because of the culture that we live in, right? The society that we live in. We live in a culture of dishonor, don't we? Like, we live in a culture of perpetual dishonor and disrespect and disgust and disdain. Do I have to prove that to you? Like, you know, right? You live here too, right? The only reason you might not recognize it is because it's almost like the water we swim in. Like, fish maybe don't recognize the water they swim in, and maybe you don't. But, like, I don't know. If you need to remember, jump on the Wadsworth Neighbors Facebook page. Like, I don't know, look for a post that has over 100 comments and tell me if you find some dishonor there, right? It doesn't have to be the Wadsworth, by the way. I love it here, but any Facebook thread that has over 100 comments, you probably jump in there, you're going to find some dishonor. Wait for an election season. Listen to our leaders, the people who are leading our society, the people who are leading our culture. Listen to how they speak, and you'll find dishonor. Listen to the way people speak about those in authority over them, you'll find dishonor. Listen to the way people talk about those who disagree with them, and you'll find dishonor. We are saturated by dishonor in our culture everywhere we turn. So if we're going to be a haven of honor, we're going to be swimming upstream against the current, right? And then also, I think another reason this is difficult is, let's just be honest, it's instinct, right? When somebody disrespects you, when somebody dishonors you, what do you want to do back? I mean, it's a knee-jerk reaction. You don't even have to think about it. Somebody disrespects you, you want to disrespect them. Somebody dishonors you, you want to send a dig right back, right? It's kind of built in. It's not something you have to think about. You want to return fire. You ever seen those memes? I'll just read them to you, show them to you. One I found said, just words. I match energies, so you decide how we're going to act. You ever seen that? And by the way, I apologize if I'm going to quote something that you posted this week. My bad. You should delete it after church, but whatever. I match energies, so you decide how we're going to act. So that, I'm just going to, whatever your energy is, that's going to dictate our interaction. Right? Here's another one. Once I get a different vibe, you get a different me. Snap. Just feel like you're supposed to do this with your head when you flip that. You send a different vibe, you get a different me. And then this one's a little longer, but I liked it. I don't like it, but I like it. It's like this. You could feel they're working it up to say this, as of today, I'm going to start treating people like that, how they treat me. You act like you don't care, I don't either. You don't call me, I'm not calling you. You take all day to text back, how about I don't text back at all? I'm going to play how it's handed to me. Boom. Just kind of feel they're all frustrated. And I want to say, with all these, I get it. I get being there emotionally. I get kind of getting to the place where you're just man, I'm so tired of treating people a certain way. When they treat me, I'm just gonna match their energy. What an interesting way to say it. But listen, there is this insane idea in our society. I don't know if they actually think it or if we actually think it, but it's this equation that we have where dishonor plus dishonor will somehow equal honor, right? Or disrespect plus disrespect will somehow equal respect. Like somehow when somebody treats us with disrespect, if we treat them with disrespect, somehow that's going to gain us something. It's going to create something out of that is actually good. But listen, Christians specifically, if you are a Christian, I want to speak to you. Do you really think we're going to solve society's problems by matching society's energy? Do you really think that? Do you really think we're going to eventually get respect by disrespecting? Do you really think we're going to eliminate with contempt by spewing more contempt? Do we really think that's the answer? We're not going to solve dishonor with dishonor. We're not going to solve contempt with more contempt. We're not going to solve disrespect by matching disrespect. The opposite's true. So there's this thing I do in my premarital counseling. I usually have a lot of fun there, talking to people before they get married, trying to have the fights before they have the fights. That's what I try to do. Try to push people to have those conversations before they say I do, so that they had them, and then when they actually are in the marriage, it's a lot easier. I always try to match expectations. If one's coming in wanting 5 kids and the other's wanting 2, we got to have a conversation before you get married, right? A lot of fun stuff like that. One of the things, though, I always talk about is this crazy instinct, and it happens. Usually it doesn't happen in the honeymoon stage, but there's this tendency, and if you're married, you can tell me if I'm crazy, but this temptation to tear down your spouse when they're acting in a way that like you don't want them to act. For example, if your spouse isn't acting respectable, you naturally treat them with disrespect. Or if your spouse isn't acting lovable, you naturally treat them without love. That's just kind of the way, again, you're almost instinctively doing it. But there's this important, like massively important truth, and I've preached on this before. Listen, your spouse, in many ways, is becoming who you tell them they are. Your spouse, in many ways, is becoming who you tell them they are. And that's not just true in marriage. This is true with your kids. It's true with all the people in your life. You don't have to be married to experience this. Your words carry weight. If you constantly tell your spouse, you're a loser, you're a nag, you're stupid, you're a mess, guess what? They're going to start to believe you. They're going to start to believe you. So listen, Harry Potter, you have two choices. You can choose Avada Kedavra, or you can choose Abracadabra. You can choose to create, or you can choose to destroy. Let me ask you this, if your words were a spell, what effect would they be having on the people around you? What kind of spell would you be weaving over the people in your life by the way you speak? And by the way, what if it's true? Not the magic part. What if it's true? What if, like, you think you're responding with your words, but you're actually creating with your words? Like, what if what you need to do is stop waiting for your spouse to act honorable and start honoring them anyways? Stop waiting for your spouse to act lovable and start loving them anyways. Stop waiting for your boss to be respectable and start respecting them anyways. What if in the act of doing those things, even though the person isn't what you want them to be yet, what if you chose to speak life instead of speak death? What if you chose to create instead of destroy? What if your response to them not acting the way you want them to act actually creates a worse situation, that you're actually pushing them down with your words, with your attitude, when if you just said, you know what, I'm going to choose to honor my husband even if he's a buffoon, what if that actually caused him to want to live up to that? And what if you said, you know what, I'm going to love my wife even though she's not lovable, and what if that actually caused her to transform into wanting to be a lovable person? What if it was the opposite? I know your instincts tell you to treat them as they are, but what if you treated them as like better than they are? What if you treated somebody better than they deserved? What if you treated them like the person you want them to be and allow that to maybe create something in them? There's life and death in the power of the tongue. The answer to dishonor is not more dishonor. The answer actually is honor. The answer to disrespect is not more disrespect, it's respect. The answer to contempt is not more contempt, it's esteem. If your home is filled with disrespect and dishonor, the only way to fight back is with honor and respect. You can't win with the same weapon that created the problem. It's true in your house, that's true in our society, that's true in this church. The way up is down. Your words carry weight. So our vision here at the church is to be a haven of honor and a culture of contempt, to be a people of honor. When people walk in here, man, we want them to feel different. We want them to be a little thrown off by it when they walk in, that the culture at large is one way, but when they walk in here, it's different. We have this spirit of honor where we treat each other with respect, we treat each other with honor, and they're thrown off by it, like in a good way, like pleasantly surprised by what they experience here, a spirit of honor. Now, I know that honor is like a hazy subject too, right? So I'm sitting here saying honor, 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 honor. And like when I say honor, I may be thinking one thing, and when you think honor, you might be thinking something completely different, right? This is not some word that is well-defined and well-known. So I want to be like fiercely practical here at the end, and I want to give some examples of honor and how we can be honorable and how we can honor others. So I'm going to give you a little list here of 5 things. 1, if you want to be a person of honor, if you want to help create a culture of honor, encourage people. Encourage people. Build others up. Intentionally think of something nice to say and say it, right? Send a text to someone telling something that you appreciate about them. Write them a note. Do the thing where you build somebody up with your words. Do the abracadabra, create as you speak, say something kind. And by the way, man, encouragement, and I say this as somebody who's not great at this, but man, it kind of breaks the economic laws in that it costs you nothing, but it still adds value. You know that? It costs you nothing to say something nice to somebody. It costs you nothing to say, hey, nice hair. Hey, nice shirt. Hey, I really like that. Or hey, you know what? You did this for me and that's really awesome. Like, to build someone up, it costs you nothing, but it still adds value to them. Man, what if we were a church where we were an encouraging church, where we gave encouragement all the time and built into people, adding value to people? That would help build a culture of honor. Number 2. If you want to be a person of honor, you want to help create a culture of honor, only tell good gossip. Only tell good gossip. We honor people when we speak highly of them when they are not around. And you know, the opposite's true as well, right? Negative gossip actually dishonors someone. So negative gossip has no place in a culture of honor. If we want to create a haven, a culture of honor here, negative gossip can't be here, because that is a dishonoring thing when you talk about someone rather than to them, right? Actually, it's honoring. If you have a problem with someone, to go talk to them and work it out. That's an honoring thing. If I've done something wrong to you and you come talk to me, that actually you honored me by letting me know that so that we can work this thing out. But if you talk about someone rather than to someone, that is dishonoring. So if you're going to talk about somebody when they're not around, make sure it's good. Do you know one of the nicest things you can do is tell somebody's spouse something nice about them? Like, that's actually one of the highest compliments you can give, if you tell the spouse something nice about them. Good gossip creates a culture of honor. 3, if you want to be a person of honor, you want to help create a culture of honor, forgive. Be a forgiver. Be a quick forgiver. Forgiving people honors them. And especially the little stuff. I cannot tell you how often in church, I don't want to be a whiner up here, but like, where as a pastor, I hear the littlest, stupidest stuff that people are frustrated about or mad at somebody for. And I don't even know what to do with it sometimes, that we can be so sensitive with things. Man, what if instead we were forgivers? And the kind of forgiving I mean is like, what if you forgave somebody and didn't even have to let them know that you did it because it wasn't even that big of a deal? The big stuff, yes. Hey, if something big is happening and you need to have a conversation with somebody, do the thing, have the conversation, forgive. But some stuff, we just need to let it go. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't tell you how many times I've had somebody come up with a complaint that I'm just like, I don't even know what to do with this. I don't even know how to process this, because I just want to say, it's not that big of a deal, shut up. But since I'm a pastor, I usually can't say those words out loud. They're in my head. But man, what if we got really good at just saying, you know what, that's not that big of a deal, because that person didn't say hi to me, so I'm not going to say how bad it. No, just forget it. Maybe they were busy. Believe the best about somebody and just let the thing roll off. Let it roll off. Be a forgiver. Forgive the little stuff. You don't even have to tell them that you did it. Just forgive them and move on. That honors them. And then if it is a big thing, have the conversation and forgive, because that honors them as well. Forgiving enhances a culture of honor. Number 4, if you want to be a person of honor, if you want to create a culture of honor, listen to people. Listen to people. And I mean really listen. I'm not saying waiting for them to shut up so you can talk. I don't mean imagining what you're going to eat for lunch and hearing words. I don't mean planning the thing you're going to say after they stop speaking. I mean listen, like take an interest in others. Really see somebody. That's rare today. We're really good at asking how somebody's doing and ignoring what they say back to that question. Only ask it if you mean it. Only ask it if you really want to know. Like, stop and listen. Look people in the eye. Give them your full attention. Listen to what they say. Listen to what they don't say. Watch their mannerisms. Watch the mood that they say it with. Really see them. Really see them. That honors the person. You honor a person when you really listen to them. And then number 5, If you want to be a person of honor, you want to be help create a culture of honor, invite people or include people. This is just a true principle, right? When you include, in your whole life, you've known this. When you are included, you feel honored. When you are excluded, you feel dishonored, right? That's just a way we work as humans. You feel dishonored when you are excluded. But when you include somebody, when you invite somebody, you honor them. And yes, I'm going to do the pastor thing. I'm super biased. Church is huge for that. That's one of the reasons why we want to have like a culture of inviting here. Because we actually believe that inviting somebody honors them. And if you don't invite them, what does that mean? What are you trying to say by not inviting them? Because what are we doing here? We believe that we have a relationship with God, that God has forgiven us of everything we've ever done, and we have access to this almighty creator of the universe. We believe that God is doing something here, and we get to be a part of that. We want to honor people by inviting them. We want to have that culture of inviting because that honors people when we do that. Thing that always pops into my mind is it's those people in your life that are far from God but close to you. Far from God but close to you. Because like how cool is that? That somebody like doesn't have a relationship with God, maybe a little bit frustrated at God or at life or whatever, and God has planted you near them. And he said, you're going to be the one. You're going to be that doorway that gets them to come to him. Like what an honor that you get to be that person. Far from God, close to you. Romans 12:10. It's the most important verse on honor, I think, for us today. Love one another with brotherly affection and outdo one another in showing honor. Outdo one another in showing honor. So it's the reverse of what happens in our culture. People try to outdo each other by disrespecting and dishonoring each other. Here, Paul is pushing us back, saying, no. This is a competition. Yes, let's be competitive. Okay? Y'all, with your competitive spirits, tap into that right now. But we're going to try and outdo each other. You're going to try and win at honoring somebody. How cool would that be to create a place, an environment like that? So I want to close with something a little different. I want to try and be an example in this. And since I have the microphone, I get to do what I want. And you have to listen. So I want to honor some people right now. And this is kind of my personal list, I guess. And you have to listen, like I said, because I have the microphone and you can't do anything about it. But I want to honor some people. So one, I just want to honor, I want to start with my parents. They're watching online right now. Hi, Mom, Dad. Mom, hope you're feeling better. That's the only reason they're at home watching. She's not feeling good. Pray for my mom. But I want to honor them. My dad, man, growing up, he had this steadiness and this wisdom about him that I feel like really rubbed off on me. I guess that's cocky to say. His wisdom rubbed off on me. I'm telling you, I'm wise. That's horrible. I hope it rubbed off on me. My mom had this crazy servant's heart that did not rub off on me as much as I wish it would have. She has a fiery streak too, which definitely did rub off on me. But I wanted to honor them because they had such a positive impact in my life. My wife, are you in here, lady? Well, she was in here first service. I said nice things about her. She was good. But man, think about this, man. She's a mother of 4. She has a full-time job. She's married to me. And she's the pastor's wife. Man, she is a beast. And I'm so grateful I would not be able to be where I am and do what I do without her. She's amazing. I wanted to honor my mentor, Doc Johnson. My goodness, man. What an impact he's had on my life these past 10 years. We don't agree about a lot of stuff. But man, you should hear this guy. When we sit across the table from each other at BW3s, and if I can get him talking about preaching and serving God, like you can just like feel God start to move through him. And there's this spirit, I don't know what else to call it, but an anointing that comes on this guy. And I just want to be close enough to him to have a little bit rub off onto me. So I want to honor him today for the role he's played in my life. staff and key volunteers here at Mosaic. I want to honor you. If you're on staff, you know that. And then key volunteers, like the people who put as much time in as the staff members, because there's some people who actually do that. I want to honor you. These past couple months have been crazy, right? September was a blur. We still don't even remember it. We still have not recovered from it. We don't even like to say the word September anymore because it was so crazy. And then October was a wild month as well with opening up. We pushed the RPMs to the limit, and it's because you staff, you volunteers, you saw the mission, you saw what God was doing, and you wanted to be a part of that. And man, I want to honor you for that, for pouring it out these past couple months. Yeah. Did you just clap for yourself? Just a little bit. Okay. Just want to know. Okay. And I want to honor you, Mosaic. If this is your home church, I want to honor you. What a church that I get to pastor. I got to tell you, can I just be honest? This is a crappy thing to tell, but so many pastors I know, like that whenever I talk to them, it's just like, oh yeah, my church is this, my church is this. And I feel bad because I don't have a lot of, I got stuff I could tell, but I generally like being the pastor of this church. Like this is, man, there's nowhere else I'd rather be. This place is awesome. And like, you don't know, though. You don't know. Some of y'all don't know. Some of you have been part of other churches before, but like how cool it is to be a part of a church that has said, we're going to care more about reaching people than we do our own preference. Like how, you know how crazy that is to be a part of a church where we're just saying, no, we're going to do whatever we can to reach as many people as possible for Jesus because we actually believe that hell is hot and eternity's a long time, and we want to see people come to know him and experience that life change and experience that relationship with him. So we think that's the most important thing, and everything else is going to be secondary. Do you know how rare that is these days? It's super crazy rare. Churches are dying left and right, but I get to be a part of one where we get it and we see it. And man, I want to honor you for that. That is amazing. I love it. And I want to honor you if you're new here, if just in these past couple of months is the first time you've interacted with Mosaic, because, man, what a crazy thing to walk into a church. Like that's a hard thing to do. I'm an introvert, so walking into a new place, that's weird. And then just being a part of something that maybe you've not been a part of for a long time or ever, that's brave. And I want to honor you in that. Worship team, why don't you come up here and I'll get my last one. The last person I want to honor is Jesus. I hope we do that every Sunday, but I want to personally for me. So I became a Christian 30 years ago. That's weird to say. More than that. First grade, like first grade you can become a Christian. That's weird. I joke all the time that like that week where they were talking about it, so I went to a Christian elementary school, I joke that the week they started talking about that I asked Jesus into my heart like every single day that week, and I have like a lot of Jesuses in my heart. And that's why I'm a pastor now, because I have so many Jesuses. But to experience whatever version of his grace I could experience like in first grade, and then to just have him be faithful throughout my life, like that awkward middle school stage where I left Christian school and I went to a public middle school and I had a really hard time with it, and I wasn't walking with God throughout high school and stuff. And to have him still be there and still bless that, and then to lead me to Malone to go to a Christian university. That was not why I picked Malone. I thought I was going to play basketball there. I had nothing to do with Jesus. And then to 2 years later find out that the reason he had me there is because he was going to call me to be a pastor, and to just feel God's hand over everything. And then even now as I stand here, 38 years old, just knowing that I don't have all my crap together and that somehow he still loves me, he's still gracious to me, and have the sentence that pops into my mind all the time is, thank you for not giving up on me. Like I'm 38 years old. I've been a Christian for 30 years. I should have all this stuff down. But man, the thing I keep learning is that his grace is new every morning, and he just doesn't give up on me. And I get to be a part of what he's doing only because he works through me. And I'm so grateful for that. It is his forgiveness and his grace that washes over me. And I just want to honor him for not giving up on me. Why don't you pray with me? Jesus, this is what we want. We want a haven of honor here. Lord, I pray that at the very least, everybody sitting here is drawn to that they want to be a part of a haven of honor. They want to be a person of honor. They want to honor the people in their lives, Lord. I pray for all those things that are going to prevent us from doing that, Lord. I pray that your Spirit would be in them too. I pray for the person who feels like they're not good enough right now. Man, I pray that you would move in that. I pray they would experience your love and your forgiveness right now. I pray that we would be a church that honors you, Lord. Gives you have that infinite glory, that we would recognize that glory and honor you in that. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.